Food prices climbing rapidly as Great Plains wheat is shoved aside. Decades and decades of Great Plains wheat is king, and low prices everywhere are over. We've never seen anything like this. It's a nightmare. Underlying food inflation are changes that are transforming U.S. agriculture and making a return to the long era of cheap wheat products very extremely doubtful at best. Half a continent away, in the North Dakota country that grows the high-quality wheats, many farmers are cutting back on growing wheat in favor of more profitable, less disease-prone corn and soybeans for ethanol refineries and Asian consumers. Wheat was king once, said David Bratton, whose Norwegian immigrant grandparents built their Kindred, North Dakota farm around wheat a century ago. Now, he says, I just don't want to grow it. It's not a consistent crop. And you can get more money for growing crops, for ethanol, for fuel. But what are people supposed to eat? Anyway, shoved aside by other crops. In the 1980s, more than half the farm's acres were wheat. This year, only 1 in 10 will be, and 40% will go to soybeans. Bratton and other farmers are considering investing in a $180 million plant to turn the beans into animal feed and cooking oil, both now in strong demand in China. And to stress his hopes for ethanol, his business card shows a sketch of a fuel pump. Wheat's fall from favor, little noticed when it was cheap, has been long coming. Though still an iconic symbol of American abundance, engraved on currency and praised in song, the nation's amber waves of wheat have been increasingly shoved aside by other crops. The breadbasket of the world, which had alleviated hunger and famine since World War I, now only generally supplies a quarter of wheat exports worldwide. U.S. farmers are expected to plant approximately 64 million acres of wheat this year, down from a high of 88 million in 1981. Meanwhile, there's billions of more people in the world than there was then. In Kansas, wheat acreage has declined by a third since the mid-1980s, and nationwide there is now less wheat in grain bins than at any time since World War II. Only about enough to supply the world for 4 days. That's not very much. This occurs as developing countries with some of the poorest populations are now rapidly increasing their wheat imports. Multiple factors are playing a part. Science, weather, economics, and foreign policy have all played a part in the changes. A run on American grain. The U.S. government stopped holding large stocks of wheat in the 1980s, but the United States, nearly alone among wheat producers, allows countries to shop here even when others have shut off exports. This free trade policy resulted in a run on the 2007 U.S. wheat crop this year by foreign buyers taking advantage of a favorable dollar exchange rate to stock up, even as the Ukraine, Argentina, and other countries have blocked exports. It is a perfect storm brewing. Problems started last summer with poor European harvests and a disappointing winter wheat crop in the southern Great Plains. U.S. prices moved above $7 a bushel then crossed $10 after Australia harvested yet another drought-damaged crop in December. As supplies of wheat ran low, foreign countries began grabbing limited stocks of premium wheat from the northern plains. With low stocks and a very weak dollar, things fly off the shelf faster than they used to, said David Brown, chairman of the American Bakers Association's Commodity Task Force. There's just not enough acreage coming back into production to replenish these stocks. This is a perfect storm brewing. Taking food crops and turning them into ethanol. Something don't seem right about that. No. Something just doesn't seem right. The price of wheat per bushel has doubled in just the last 2 weeks alone. How many more times can you keep doing it? That's too rapidly, too fast. The ethanol boom, in particular, is providing strong incentives to keep former wheat acres in corn now. Within a year, Bratton will be able to truck his corn to 3 modern ethanol refineries, one already built and 2 others near completion. This is all about greediness and people making a lot of money. These huge distilleries will need corn from an area about the size of Rhode Island. It's a pretty large area. And many of the acres will come at the expense of such additional crops as wheat and sugar beets. Corn has even begun to make inroads in the western part of the state, where sparse rainfall in the short growing season traditionally have ruled out most crops except wheat, barley, and oats. Spurred by the availability of cheap coal for power, another fossil fuel, and a local cattle industry that will buy the dry byproducts for feed, a new ethanol plant opened last year in Richardson, west of Bismarck, the capital. There's getting to be more and more corn all the time, said the refinery's commodity manager. At current prices, farmers like Bratton can make more money from an acre of corn than from an acre of wheat. No, this is not good news. Not good news about the foodstuffs. This is all going to lead, well, it already has led to worldwide famine. Taking food crops and turning them into fuel or ethanol is not a very wise decision. No, it's all based on they can get more money growing corn and stuff for ethanol, for fuel. But what are people going to eat? People have to eat too, you see. Yes, this is leading to worldwide famine, as spoken of in the Holy Bible. And these are more signs of the end times, last days, whatever you want to call them. It all leads to a new world. Yes, these are more signs.